My friends, we are here. We are here to celebrate the divine spirit of love with our bodies and our souls, our minds and our hearts, with song and with word this morning. We are here to give because of the abundance from life that has already been given to us, and to share with one another, and to receive because we were created to depend on one another and to love one another fully, and of course to be loved fully. We are here to celebrate the differences that might otherwise divide us. Differences of our age, differences of our bodies, differences of our cultures and our opinions, of abilities, of religious conviction, and spiritual intentions. We're here to put things into perspective, to celebrate what matters, to laugh about all of those things that each of us take too seriously, and to cry about the things that truly touch our hearts. My friends, we are here to free our minds, to grow our souls, and to work to change the world. We are here. And good morning. I'm the Reverend Christopher Rowe. I use he, him pronouns, and I have the honor of serving as the acting senior minister here in this cathedral of love and this temple of peace that most of us call Fountain Street Church. And it's my honor to welcome you to worship this morning on this day that is actually our final Sunday together before the summer speaker series begins next week. No matter who you are, no matter where you are, no matter what you believe or what you don't believe in at all, no matter who you love or who you are loved by. Whether you're a Fountain Street Church lifer or this is your very first time with us, whether you live up the street or across the nation, all who are joy-filled, all who are filled with hope, all who come into this space with grief and loss and anger and questions and confusion or glee and wonder, all of you and each of you have a place here where love and justice and equity and inclusion are the work, but also the shared work of our liberating faith. You belong here. So on behalf of the community that calls this their spiritual home, and on behalf of my colleagues and staff members here at Fountain Street Church, and on behalf of all who simply wander, whether it's with intention or perhaps by chance, please let me welcome you personally to worship this morning. At this time, I invite you to find your space and your place and your posture that allows you to be fully present and fully one with us during this time of worship with you. And as we prepare for this sacred hour with one another, I invite you to rest and reflect as the candles are lit that draw us together. Welcome to Fountain Street Church. Welcome to worship. Welcome home. I'm so glad you're here.
I light these candles today as a sign and a symbol of our connectedness, as the light, the oxygen, the flames that go out to each of us, that while we cannot be together, that these might connect us. I light a candle for healing peace, a candle for love and compassion, candle for community, and a candle for justice. May it be our hope and our prayer that each of these may be felt and experienced by all of those within this community and beyond its walls.
Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again, come. Ours is no caravan whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Wanderer,
yet
worshipper,
again
lover of
come.
leaving.
Though you've
Ours is
broken
no
your vows a
caravan of
thousand
despair.
times, though you've broken your
Come
vows
yet
a
again,
thousand
come.
times, though you've broken your
Come,
vows a
whoever you
thousand times,
are,
though you've broken your
wanderer,
vows
worshipper,
a
lover
thousand
of
times, though
leaving.
you've
Ours is
broken
no
your vows a
caravan of
thousand
despair.
times.
Come yet again, come.
A reading in 3 voices and 3 languages from the poet Rainer Maria Rilke. God speaks to each of us before we are, before He's formed us. Then, in cloudy speech, but only then, He speaks these words to each and silently walks with us
Entonces,
from the dark.
camina calladamente con nosotros, afuera,
Driven
hacia
by
la
your
noche.
senses.
Estas son palabras que escuchamos vagamente. Tú, yendo más allá de tu recuerdo, vas a los límites de tu anhelo. Encárname. Enciéndete como una llama y hace sombras grandes para que me pueda mover ahí dentro. Deja que todo te pase a ti, belleza y amor. Simplemente continúa. Ningún sentimiento es final. No vayas a perderme.
From the dark.
Cercanamente está el país que le llaman
Driven
vida.
by your senses.
¿Lo conocerás?
Dare to the edge of longing, grow like a fire's shadow-casting glare behind assembled things, so you can spread their shapes on me as clothes.
Diese wolkigen Worte
Don't
sind
leave me bare.
von deinen Sinnen hinausgesandt.
Let
Geh
it all
bis an deiner Sehnsuchtrand, gib mir Gewand. Hinter den Dingen wachse als Brand, dass ihre Schatten, ausgespannt, immer mich ganz bedecken. Lass dir alles geschehen, Schönheit und Schrecken. Man muss nur gehen, kein Gefühl ist das
Don't leave me
Fernste.
bare.
Lass dich von mir nicht trennen.
Let it all happen to you. Beauty and dread. Simply go. No feeling is too much. And only this way can we stay in touch. Near here is the land they call life. You will know it when you arrive by how real it is. Give me your hand.
There is a love holding me. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love holding me. I rest in this love.
There is a love holding you. There is a love holding all that you love. There is a love holding all. You rest in this love. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love. What's the story? You know, in training in seminary, one of the lessons I learned was there's always a story in a sermon, always a story in a worship service. So what's the story this week? I would say the story is we are still here, and there is still hope, and there is still work to be done. Here we are on the cusp of summer, and winter seems simultaneously a distant memory and just yesterday. There is a dreamlike quality to these days. Mask mandates changing, vaccine availability broadening. Some remain hunkered in fear, some remain rooted in outrage. Things change, things stay the same. Here on the cusp of summer in this religious community, which in previous years would have been bidding gratitude for a year of volunteers who taught and tended and led and labored, and you have. And we do, but still from a distance. And so much has been done, and still so much remains. We are still here. There is still hope. And there is still work to do. Here on the cusp of summer, what do we dream? What did we dream? What do we hear when we listen to the calling of life within us and all around us? It may be, as in our reading this morning, that dreamlike sensation of being called out of one world and into another with some sense of purpose and hope and promise and vision, with the possibility, the charge of embodying God and fleshing our highest ideals, and the reassurance that though we will experience exhilaration and agony, we may, indeed we must, stay in touch with the very heart of life. And though life, in all of its very seriousness, is so real, we must remember we do not journey alone, always accompanied. And then perhaps, having let ourselves lose one another, getting lost in the seriousness and the realness of life, perhaps we hear the call again of the story. We are still here. There is still hope. There is still work to do. Have you heard the calling of life in these past pandemic months, life within and around you? And how has that call changed amidst political upheavals and financial challenges and changes? Calls for racial reckonings and justice, changes within this very community. I turn to this reading today on the cusp of summer, and I turn to it in a very particular way, with the beautiful overlays and interweavings of German and Spanish voices, of our own Lydia Stubbs and Caroline Clark. Because, dear ones, beloveds, as the wheels of the year turn, and as we find ourselves on this cusp, we have just passed through Ramadan, a month of fasting and prayer and night of power, and through the weeks following the Jewish Pesach, Passover, celebration of the exodus from bondage, and yet wandering in the desert and receiving teachings from a mountaintop, an encounter with the divine, beginning again and discovering anew how to be together, how to listen for God, how to discern purpose and meaning. And it was this festival, Pentecost, the Greek translation of the Hebrew Shavuot, the Feast of Weeks, a celebration of harvest. It was this festival that the followers of Jesus were amidst. In the weeks following Jesus' death, disappearance, and some rumored resurrection, it was amidst this time that These followers, dejected and worried, these friends of Jesus, you heard them called friends last week or a few weeks back, right? Friends, not servants. These friends of Jesus were in a room, probably still traumatized, still worrying and wondering about what do we do now? Now that this charismatic leader whose visions seemed to carry so much promise, now that he is gone, how do we carry on? What do we do? Did it even happen? Was it for real? Should we have taken it seriously? How are we supposed to understand what happened? How are we supposed to even talk to each other and others about our experience of this in ways that will help them understand, help us understand, and help us to discover together a new way to move toward becoming beloved community? It is in this story that the birth of the Christian version of Pentecost occurs. When the day of the Pentecost had come, they were all together in one place, and suddenly from heaven there came a sound like the rush of a violent wind, and it filled the entire house where they were sitting. And divided tongues as of fire appeared among them, and a tongue rested on each of them, all of them filled with the Holy Spirit, and began to speak in other languages as the Spirit gave them ability. Now there were devout Jews from every nation under heaven living in Jerusalem. And at this sound, the crowd gathered and was bewildered because each one heard them speaking in the native language of each. Amazed and astonished, they asked, "Are not all these who are speaking Galileans? And how is it that we hear, each of us, in our own native language? In our own languages, we hear them speaking about God's deeds of power." All were amazed and perplexed, saying to one another, "What does this mean?" While others sneered and said, "They are filled with the new wine." Later, in the same text, it concludes saying, "Awe came upon everyone because many wonders and signs were being done by the apostles." All who believed were together and had all things in common. They would sell their possessions and goods and distribute the proceeds to all as any had need. Day by day, as they spent much time together in the temple, they broke bread at home and ate their food with glad and generous hearts, praising God and having the goodwill of all people. Somehow, in the midst of their time of trial and loss, in the middle of celebrating, commemorating harvest and the possibility of new community, something amazing happened. People who were dejected and angry and embittered, who were disillusioned and confused and resentful, who were defended and traumatized and divided. These people found ways to communicate with each other and to seek deeper understanding in their bones, and then to share it in ways others could understand beyond just the words. They found ways to know through differences of speech and dialect and style and nuance and experience and interpretation. They found ways to connect, found words and concepts they could understand, they could agree upon, discovered a fuller picture of that which had called them, of that which still called them. Beyond everything that had happened, no feeling was final. And these were not just about intellectual assent and philosophical agreement. No. This drew them into the very first primitive Christian communities, not even called Christian at the time, perhaps people of the way, but Jews. I like to think that maybe this was the very first running away to live in a hippie commune, sharing property, sharing meals, doing unexpected, unforeseen, amazing things. I like to think that these people were giving voice, each in their own way, to the experience described in the reading from Rilke today. How each one of us hears a challenge, a cheer, a charge. How each one of us is encouraged to be authentic and be in community. To flare up like big flame and make shadows that the most holy beloved can dance in and move in. To let everything happen. To not allow our negativity bias to root us in cynicism and resistance and resentment, but instead to move forward with resilience, to flourish, to thrive, to discover through connection within, between, and beyond new possibilities for hope, for vision, for moving forward from and through trauma toward beauty and vision and wisdom and humility. This is the story. We are still here. There is still hope. And there is still work to be done. Work that we discover and create in our living and in our listening. You heard one English translation of that Rilke earlier. Hear now a different one, and notice how even a slight shift of phrase changes how it sounds to the ears of your mind and heart. This translation by Joanna Macy and Anita Barrows. God speaks to each of us as He makes us, and then walks with us silently out of the night. These are words we dimly hear. You, sent out beyond your recall, go to the limit of your longing. Embody me. Flare up like flame and make big shadows I can move in. Let everything happen to you, beauty and terror. Just keep going. No feeling is final. Don't let yourself lose me. Nearby is the country they call life. You will know it by its seriousness. Give me your hand. Notice how the same invitation ends each, and the similar words begin. We hear a voice before we are, and that same voice says, "Give me your hand." Here we are, friends, on the cusp of summer. Here we are on the cusp of Pentecost. And as we prepare for our summer embodiments as a spiritual community and as individuals, we are invited to go from one dream to another, from one reality to a new one, amidst ongoing global and local and internal turmoil, amidst ongoing conflict and violence and bloodshed, disappointed, confused, uncertain, longing, still, we are invited once again to cross this threshold, this cusp, into possibility, hearing the cheer and the charge that invites us again and again into life together. Life that is real, that is serious, but that is hopeful, that is loving, that is courageous and generous. We are invited this day, this season, and every day and every season to be people who dream, who dare to know life in its fullness, not just reduced to its lowest common denominator, but to relish in the complexities, to experience and know and feel within the cacophony the symphony, to come to appreciate and to live that love that binds us to each and to every, that gives meaning, worth, and dignity to all of our days. This is the story, friends. We are still here. There is still hope, and there is still work to do. Give me your hand.
May tongues of fire reach out and touch each of us and inspire us to empower each other for our work in this world. I want to empower you to support this community, to support its work in this world, in connecting each other, in bringing love and hope into reality. And in the world we live in, that takes money. So here is the offertory. Here is the ask for your financial support, for your show of commitment to us, to our collective, and what we can do together. Thank you, and may you give generously.
Friends, as we take leave of this time and this place, of this hour and this way, we know that this is not the end, obviously, of this community, merely a resting place, to reconnect, to be reminded, and to begin again. As we have each week this year, we invite you to join us for continued virtual connection in the deepening immediately following this service on Zoom. You should have information on how to connect on that in the email that went out earlier today and on Friday. And if you need that information, connect with our social media accounts. And there are so many more announcements about our plans for the summer moving forward. I can't even begin to list them. So please pay special attention to the Friday Flash email. And if you have any questions, certainly reach out to any of us at church. And though we shift to our summer speaker series next week, Memorial Day through Labor Day, this same hour will be our gathering time and place as we journey on. So as we take leave, we extinguish these flames which have lit our way this year. We extinguish the fires, but not the peace, the love and compassion, the justice, and the beloved community that they represent. Our cheer and our charge, our hope and our prayer this week on the cusp of summer is this.
May you go forth boldly and humbly and listen to the ears of your heart. Listen to the world around you and to the world within you. And may you go forth knowing the gratitude that the world has for your presence and your participation in it, in word and in your deed, in joy and in struggle.
May you know the beauty of the world in service and in sacrifice, in celebration and in commemoration. May you know the deep, deep love of the world, moving through you and in you, remembering it as an invitation that comes with each and every breath.
To peace, love, compassion, justice, and beloved community we are called. Our service is ended, and our service in the world resumes. Nearby is the country they call life. Let us take one another's hands. Go in peace and make peace, my friends. Blessed be.
We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, getting stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. Hate and greed and jealousy. We are working to be free. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love, that is the seed. We can feed our every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, the world will die. Peace and freedom